guys, Ash Lane here today, coming at you with another Clash Royale video. Today we're actually going to cover all the 14 common cards in the game. So there are 14 common cards in the game, and what I figured would be helpful to some of you viewers would be to go over every card's strengths and weaknesses, talk about where they're good and what cards do good against them. So let's go ahead and start things out here with the common cards in my deck, and the first card we'll get to is the Knight. Now, I've told you guys before that the Knight is probably the most important card in Clash Royale, in my opinion. It is certainly the most versatile card, and if you can see here on the info, the description of these cards, they're actually kind of like funny little breakdowns of the characters versus, sometimes they don't really tell you exactly what they do in the game. And that's part of the reason I wanted to bring you this episode. So the Knight, like I said, most versatile card in the game in my opinion. No beginner deck is complete without the Knight. Now, the Knight is great on offense. You can put it in... It's actually a decent meat shield for only 3 elixir cost. I mean, the best part about the Knight is that it can provide a nice meat shield for your DPS units, your spear goblins or your archers or whatever you want to send in after it, and it can eat up some of that damage from the tower. And also on defense, that's another way the Knight really shines. You can place the Knight in the center of your map on defense, and it will distract heavier units, such as a giant skeleton, for example, and it will send them away from your towers. A Knight is so cheap and so versatile. Let's move on to the Archers. Archers are an air-targeting cheap ground unit, so Archers are also very flexible. That's going to be a theme in a lot of these common cards. Archers don't have a ton of hit points, but they have more than spear goblins and they do a little bit more damage. They're a very versatile unit. They can be put behind your tower to help defend, and they can be put behind, for example, a knight and help attack. Archers also, like I said, target air, so you definitely want to have at least a couple units in the game in your deck that can do 2 things. One, they're a ground unit that can target air, and 2, since they're a ground unit, they can also distract other ground units, so that's important to remember. Now, our first spell, if you will, or a non-troop, is the arrows. Arrows are another fundamental troop. They are a perfect counter to goblin barrels, which are very popular in the game right now. They can also take out giant armies, minions, spear goblins, which is our next troop. Spear goblins are even cheaper than archers. They're just a little bit less powerful in terms of hit points and DPS. Like I said before, spear goblins, pretty versatile. They can be used on offense or defense. They can be taken out by one arrow, as can the archers, so be careful of that. Goblins can also be taken out with one arrow. Goblins are kind of like spear goblins, only they do a little bit more damage on the ground, and they have no range attack, obviously. They're a good distracting unit as well. The best distracting unit is a skeleton, and we'll get to them in just a second. Moving on to the Bombers. The Bombers are a pretty cool unit. They are kind of like wall breakers, and what they do is they're slow moving, but their bombs do a significant amount of splash damage, meaning that they can take out a large amount of low hit point troops, the goblins, the skeletons, anything else, skeleton army, all that kind of stuff. They just don't target air. Keep that in mind. Now, also on the downside of wall breakers are, as I mentioned, they are very slow, and if a well-placed knight or maybe barbarians are placed near the wall breaker, they can take them out in 1 or 2 hits. They don't have a ton of hit points, but like I said, their bombs do a lot of damage on offense. So, let's go to the minions. Minions are very cool because minions are a good counter to giants or barbarians or any ground troop or goblins that can't target air troops. Just remember, they won't distract them. They do a significant amount of damage as well. Now, let's get on to these skeletons here. Skeletons are great. They only cost 1. They're the only unit in the game right now that only costs 1 elixir, and they're so versatile. You can use them on offense or defense, mainly defensive. They're a great defensive unit. What you can do with them is distract, and there's 4 of them, so they're actually distract, for example, a prince for a good valuable 2 or 3 seconds, which will allow you to build up the elixir you'll need to mount a more proper defense. Now we're moving right along here. The next common card are Barbarians. Barbarians are pretty pricey at 5 elixir, but they do a great job. They're a tanky unit. They have about about half the hit points as a knight does, and they do a significant amount of damage. Obviously, they're very vulnerable to air units, and they're very easily distracted. One stray skeleton can send these guys in the wrong direction and make them even more vulnerable to your other towers. Now let's move on to some of the defensive units here that are common cards. Starting with the old trusty cannon. So the cannon only targets ground units. That's important to remember, as does the mortar, which we'll be covering in a few cards. The cannon is a pretty basic defensive unit. There's not a lot of explanation needed here. It can be easily taken out though with a few minions. As a reminder, does not take out air troops. So the minion horde, speaking of minions, are basically a bunch of minions. They cost 5, but hey, they can be pretty lethal. They do a significant amount of damage, and there's a lot of them. Cost is a little high, but I'm a big fan of the minion horde. Now the Tesla is the only common defensive card that can target air troops, and it also hides, making it untargetable until it shows itself. So it's a pretty interesting defensive unit. Honestly, I have to play around more with the Tesla before I can give it a real strong review. I've only used it a few times during the months I've been playing this game. Now, Zap is one of my favorite cards. And Zap is one of those interesting cards where it becomes way more effective once you level it up more. Zap, it won't really impress you at level 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. But when it starts getting higher level, you can use Zap. It only costs 2 elixir, so it's the cheapest defensive spell, if you will, and it can take out, if you level it up enough, it can take out those cheap, those low hit point units like the Spear Goblin and Skeletons, so it can be handy for only 2 elixir. Now the level 1 Mortar. Now Mortars just do a lot of splash damage. If you guys play Clash of Clans, you know what the Mortar is already. It has a large range, and it does a lot of splash damage. Of course, it is vulnerable to tanky units that can attack it up close. Also, it can't target air units, so a few stray minions. If you want to use the Mortar, make sure you use it defensively with a lot of protection closer to your King's Tower. So maybe we can do something fun now and actually do a battle using all common cards. So the tough thing about this is there's not a lot of tanky units. There's not a lot of great combos if I'm using all commons, right? That's why you actually get some of the rare cards right off the bat in this game. Not that you just start off with all commons. I wouldn't recommend making a deck of all commons or all rares or even all epics. It's nice to have a mix. So here we go. Let's challenge one of my clanmates to a friendly battle and see if anybody will take me up on the all common deck. Hopefully someone will accept, and then we'll see what we can do here. Okay, so let's go ahead and face Jetkin, and we'll see what I can come up with this deck. So let's go ahead and give him a couple of these emotes there and see how he starts this off. Okay, so he's coming at me with a Spear Goblin hut. I'm just going to bum rush him here and see what I can do. I don't know if this will work, but maybe I can. Yeah, it's not going so well here with I guess the Wall Breaker's doing a significant amount of damage, and that just goes to show you that the Wall Breaker does do a little bit of damage. Okay, he's coming at me with a Goblin Barrel here. Oh, shame on you, Jetkin, using epic cards. I said all common. Okay, obviously, I just meant me. I'm just kidding. So I have my arrows ready if he has anything coming at me here when I try to swarm him. Okay, he has a fireball. That's not going to work then. So my knight is the soul man left standing there. He takes a few shots at that left tower. This is the skeletons. Look at only one. Okay, that wasn't a great example there. The dragon does very well against the skeletons. But look at the minions do a pretty decent job. And he's actually doing Jetkin is doing a pretty decent job against me here. Let's see if I can stop this prince and then remount an army here. Get something going with this deck. Okay, it's like I said, it's not advised. I don't advise taking all common cards, okay? It's you know, you gotta have a healthy mix there. So he's coming at me with some barbarians. I drop a knight in the center there. Some of them split off. Unfortunately, not all of them split off. Maybe I got a little bit too aggressive there on exactly how far to the right I was going to put that knight. But let's see if I can go ahead and make some magic happen here. Dropping the goblins, the spear goblins, the knight. So it comes out another goblin barrel. This is crazy. Okay, so goblin barrel, tower down, left tower down. Rawr. Okay, dragon on the board. Let's go ahead and see if we can counter this. Some archers, some skeletons, some. Okay, let's hold up here. Calm down. Drop some goblins, make sure it's far enough to the right this time. It still didn't get him. Jeez, I'm late on this these drops. Sloppy attack by me. Let's go ahead and bum rush him again on the left-hand side. It's a rush attack. I'm dropping everything I have, and of course he fireballs it. But hey, I still have a few units left, including the knight who was doing all the heavy lifting on this attack. Goblin barrel coming at me. Let's go ahead and drop some. So the beautiful thing about this deck is that I have no shortage of units to drop to defend if I have to. So let's see. We're all tied up here. Now I'm feeling pretty good about my chances. I have full elixir. Let's go ahead and drop some stuff on the left-hand lane. See how far we can get it in. We are really just spamming troops. I mean, like I said, the last minute of a match really goes by fast, and it's really adrenaline. I mean, this is the last minute of a match is when you really feel the pressure to make all the right moves because everything moves in double time. That's part of the cool thing about the game. That's what makes it so addicting, is you always end the match on an adrenaline spike. And there I go. Took down the left-hand tower. That was pretty fun. Well played, Jetkin. Well played. So, okay. That was kind of fun. That wouldn't be my normal deck selection, but I wanted to show you, some of the cards in action. Guys, let me know in the comments below if you would like to see an overview of the rare and the epic cards. I'd love to go through each card one by one, maybe using different combinations. It wasn't that fun using all common cards. Maybe trying some different combinations, as I said, might be a little bit more entertaining. You guys let me know what you want, and I'll bring it to you. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much to all my Patreon supporters. I really appreciate it, guys, and as always, take care. Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. Just a few ways you can help the channel out. Number 1, like. Number 2, subscribe. And number 3, comment. Tell me what you think of the video. I really appreciate it, guys, and it really helps me out a lot. Also, you can find me on social media. I'm active every day on Twitter at Clash_with_Ash, and on Bindle chat group #ClashWithAsh. And as always, you can find me on my website at www.clashwithash.com. Thanks, guys.